section. And thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking storms across the mid-Atlantic near places like Florida, South Carolina, and Georgia this afternoon. But I think one of the biggest topics that we'll be talking about today is that Category 5 upgrade. Melissa is officially a Category 5 hurricane, and it's targeting Jamaica. So it is expected to make landfall as a Cat 5, one of the strongest hurricanes that has ever made landfall in this area. It's moving very, very slow at about 3 miles an hour, a very slow movement there. And we're going to hear from meteorologist Michaela Smith more about the track of this storm here in just a few minutes. Back here on land, temperatures are expected to fall for a few of us, dipping into more of that fall-like weather over the next few days. I know a lot of people are excited about that as it does feel more like fall. And then for many of us, we're still expecting that rain to move in, and we're calling this rain without the risk. So while we're expecting a pretty low chance for severe weather this week, we still have that wet weather moving into some places. That is not what we saw this weekend. Over the last 24 to 48 hours, we had a very active weekend across Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Let's talk about those weather headlines from Saturday to Sunday. We had a very, very active setup here. We had 2 rounds of storms, that first one coming in late Friday night and into Saturday. That second one coming in Saturday night into Sunday. We had several tornado reports, several hail reports, but I think one of the biggest things that we saw here was that high wind that just would not stop across the southeastern portion of the U.S. You could even see that high wind as late Sunday night and into early Monday morning across the eastern side of Florida. So that's what we dealt with earlier this weekend. Now we're heading into the work week where things do overall look a little bit quieter. We've got some showers and storms across the plains for today. We've also got all of that rain that is just ongoing and will not stop across places like the southeast and the eastern side of Florida. So we'll be watching that over the next 24 hours. Pretty low chance for severe weather today. Let's talk about it. Now, I'll tell you what you're going to see from this significant hail model is you're going to try to see it put hail over Dallas. I know you're going to look there. I know you're going to watch for that. It is going to be an extremely low chance for any sort of hail in Dallas early this morning, early Tuesday morning, okay? Very, very low chance. Do not focus on that area. Eastern Florida, that is where we're watching for the severe weather today. So we're watching for that severe weather over eastern Florida. That's where we're watching for the high winds and maybe even a potential low risk for a tornado. If we do see any of these storms try to pull in any hail today, it's going to be very small hail. Usually pocket change hail is what we expect in these types of setup. Quarter size for the max hail size today. All right, just being super honest with you. Very low risk for hail today. What we're really watching for is that high wind risk across the eastern side of Florida. I know, we're being honest here. We don't hype the forecast. We tell you exactly what we're expecting. Let's move into your future radar here. Let's talk about all of the showers and storms that we're going to see over the next 24 hours. 2 areas to watch for across the plains. Second area here across the southeast in places like Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, and North Carolina just get an absolute soaking over the next few days. Again, we're really watching for that eastern side of Florida, just right along the Atlantic there. That's where you're going to have the best chance for severe weather today. So just keep an eye on that. It's a low risk, nonetheless, still one to talk about. Other places that are getting rain are again across the plains area. So we've got Rapid City, expecting some cold rain today. We're also expecting all of those showers and storms to extend as far south as the central portion of Kansas, giving them another soaking after all of that rain that they got this weekend. You may keep an eye on the flooding issues and ponding on roadways. Alrighty, moving on here, let's go ahead and talk about tomorrow. So tomorrow we have another chance for showers across the central portion of the U.S. So we're talking right along Minnesota, all the way into Iowa, Missouri, and Arkansas there. And then we've got a few more lingering showers and storms across the mid-Atlantic. So 2 areas, once again, for showers and storms tomorrow. But again, as we told you earlier, it's rain without the risk. So we are not expecting all of this wet weather to come with severe weather as well. Just kind of an important distinction there. Moving on, let's talk about our severe outlooks over the next 2 to 3 days. Monday, eastern side of Florida. We've already talked about that. Tuesday, we could see some isolated severe storms across the eastern side of Texas and into Louisiana. It's a low risk here. However, we may see that change, so things could change very quickly with this type of setup. We'll have to keep an eye on that. By Wednesday, we do not have a severe risk across the U.S. Overall, it seems like a pretty slow work week. Other than if we take you out to the Atlantic, we have a Category 5 hurricane that we are keeping a very, very close eye on. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that. We'll talk about rain chances in just a few minutes. I do want to kind of skip ahead here and take you out to just south of Jamaica, where you can see a very clear eye forming with this hurricane, right? This has been the situation over the last 24 hours where this storm rapidly intensified over the weekend to now a Category 5 hurricane. This is taking a sharp northward turn, so things are changing a little bit here from that westward turn to now that northward turn, and it's moving very slow at about 3 miles an hour. You can see the targeted area here right into the western side of Jamaica. Here to break down all of the very important details of this storm, we have meteorologist Michaela Smith. Michaela, what can people expect from this hurricane, and how significant is this landfall in Jamaica?
As Taylor has mentioned already, we are talking about Category 5 Hurricane Melissa. You can see the imagery behind me. It is expected to make landfall in Jamaica within the next 24 hours, but it's not the first major hurricane to actually impact Jamaica. Back in 1988, on September 12th, Category 4 Hurricane Gilbert made landfall just to the southwest of Kingston, Jamaica, and then it proceeded to go all the way across the island before it re-entered the Caribbean Sea and later intensified into a Category 5 hurricane. When Gilbert made landfall in Jamaica, it was on September 12th, and the winds were at 130 miles per hour, so just barely into that Category 4 hurricane range. But it continued all the way across the island, and when it exited the west side of the island, the winds were only down to 125 miles per hour, so it was still a major hurricane the entire time it was going across Jamaica. There were 45 deaths recorded in Jamaica from Hurricane Gilbert and near $700 million in damage as the storm moved across the island. Now behind me again, you can see we have Hurricane Melissa set to make landfall within 24 hours. And as Hurricane Gilbert was only a Category 4 hurricane when this made landfall, Category 5 Melissa would be the strongest hurricane that has ever impacted Jamaica. Melissa is currently south of Jamaica, but is expected to make a northern turn this afternoon and then continue to the north before it makes landfall sometime late tonight into the early morning hours on Tuesday. The entire coastline of Jamaica is under hurricane warning. Again, that is for a Category 5 hurricane. There's going to be catastrophic damage across the island, expecting flooding along the coast, especially areas to the east of where the hurricane makes landfall. That's where the greatest storm surge is expected to be impacting areas, along with a lot of flooding because this is going to be a very slow moving system. And then areas up in the mountains could be experiencing landslides from all the water that's about to impact Jamaica. We will obviously continue to bring you updates here at HailTrace as the storm gets closer to making landfall late tonight into early tomorrow morning. And Taylor, I know we've just been watching this over the last several days, and our hearts have just been sinking as this continues to shape up to be the worst scenario possible for Jamaica. And then after that, Cuba, and then the Bahamas, and then even Bermuda. A lot of islands, a lot of nations getting impacted by this major hurricane. So I know we, again, are thinking about people here at HailTrace, and just know that this is about to be one of those storms that there is a before Melissa and an after Melissa. And it truly is about to be one of those storms that we remember for a very long time. I'll send things back over to Taylor to kind of wrap up talking about the hurricane and then jumping back closer to the U.S. talking about more of our temperatures across the country.
Thank you so much for that very, very informative report there, Michaela. We appreciate that. And as she was mentioning, right now, one of the most significant things with Melissa, in addition to the high wind speeds, is the slow movement of this storm. So Michaela mentioned how slow this is moving. It's an astonishing 3 miles an hour. Now, the average for a strong hurricane to move is right around 12 to 14 miles an hour. It may seem slow, but that 3 miles an hour is extremely slow. Now, what that means is that as this storm approaches Jamaica, its slow movement means that they're going to withstand those winds for a very long time. They're going to get that torrential downpour for a very long time, or longer if that hurricane were to move faster. I do want to go ahead and read you off some of the statements from the National Hurricane Hurricane Center right here. They're saying for Jamaica, do not venture out of your safe shelter. Catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides are likely today through Tuesday. Catastrophic winds in the Eyewall have the potential to cause total structure failure, especially in higher elevation areas tonight and early Tuesday. This will result in extensive infrastructural damage, long-lasting power and communication outages, and isolated communities. Life-threatening storm surge and damaging waves are expected along the southern coast through today. Again, that is the wording from the National Hurricane Center to those in Jamaica. We have also gotten reports here that many of the resorts in this area have gone on total lockdown. So a very, very intense and scary situation for many people across the island. Now, this storm is going to continue to track up to the north, potentially making landfall one more time before it moves all the way out into the Atlantic, taking aim next for Bermuda. Now, Bermuda has seen several hurricanes around this area this year. This will slowly weaken as it does move into those higher latitudes and slowly weaken from a Cat 5 to 4, 3, 2 out in the Atlantic, and finally a Cat 1 as it moves farther up to the north. A wildly impressive storm here, especially because models originally, when we were watching this form, didn't even expect it to get out of tropical storm force winds. It expected, most models did not even have this as a Cat 1 storm. So to see this Cat 5 now is very, very impressive. One more look at spaghetti models here. You can see that we've got a lot of agreements that this is going to go right into Jamaica, and we've got a lot of these models agreeing on the path of the storm into the Atlantic as well. An update here on where we're at in our hurricane season. We've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 storms here. So we did verify with that hurricane forecast. I think that HailTrace had 12 to 17 named storms for this year. Our average, a normal season, we would see about 14 named storms. 7 of those turning into hurricanes and 3 of those major hurricanes. I think we are officially at 4 major hurricanes this year. Not quite sure about that number, but I think we are above the average. So we've seen several major hurricanes this year. One more reminder is that we could still see a few more named storms as we are nearing the end of hurricane season. It's not over yet, and I think Melissa is a great example of that. Now, I want to go back on land because I did skip a few graphics earlier because I wanted to talk about Hurricane Melissa. I want to very quickly talk about the flooding and the rainfall impacts that we could expect this week. Today, out in the eastern side of Florida, we've got a level 1 risk for flooding. We move back into the central portion of the U.S. tomorrow for lots of rain that's coming through this area. I could see a world where this gets upgraded to that level 2 flood risk, anywhere from St. Louis all the way into Memphis. A good portion of Tennessee, Missouri, and Arkansas included in that risk there. Moving to the east as we head into Wednesday, targeting the eastern side of Tennessee at this point, Kentucky, West Virginia, portions of North and South Carolina, and just to the north of Atlanta, Georgia. As we head into the end of this week, it looks pretty rainy for the coasts. So we're talking about the northeast coast and the northwest coast, expecting a lot of rain here. Now this comes right as Halloween arrives, so let's talk about that rainfall now. 5-day rainfall outlook. A lot of this rain is targeting the east side of the U.S. However, we've got one little area farther up to the northwest that is expecting more rain as this atmospheric river stays pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and take a look at the day-by-day breakdown. We've been talking about this a lot. Southeastern side of the U.S. will have ongoing rain today. Isolated flash flooding was noted by the National Weather Service today, so that is something to keep an eye on for tomorrow as we have more rain moving into the central and then out to the Midwest over the next few days. So just kind of keep an eye on this area. It may not be all day Tuesday or all day Wednesday, but you could see some isolated flash flooding in these areas. And then we go up to the northwest and the northeast on Thursday and Friday. That is where we have our next chance for rain as we head into the holiday. Now, a lot of people, I think, are getting out, right, across the U.S. on Thursday and Friday for Halloween. I do want to show you that your rain chances on Halloween day, they don't look bad. I mean, the rest of the U.S. here is going to stay dry, so let this graphic load real quick, and I'm going to go ahead and show you. This is Friday's rainfall outlook. So while the Northwest and the Northeast are rainy, the rest of the U.S. on Friday, we're dry. So you want to get out, you want to trick or treat on Friday evening with the kiddos. You're probably going to have some chilly but dry weather to do that. Great news there. Alrighty, let's move on. Let's go ahead and talk about temperatures, because you say that you may not need a raincoat, but will you need that coat to stay cool? Potentially, okay? It's a little bit chilly today. We're going to see more cold air moving in for tomorrow, and then that cold air is here to stay for Wednesday. As we head into the end of this week, it looks like that cold air is trying to move to the east, but still temperatures below average for this time of year. Let's go ahead and take you to Friday now. We're warming up a little bit, so really Friday temperatures, it's about average. Normal for this time of the year for most of the U.S. A little bit chilly out to the east and a little bit warmer out to the west. So that Halloween jacket, maybe a light jacket for the most part. I think these are pretty good Halloween temperatures. You know, we've seen ice storms before on Halloween. We've seen severe weather on Halloween. We've seen frigid temperatures. So hey, if temperatures are in the 60s, I'll take it. I think that the kids would like that too, because that means that they don't have to wear that jacket over their costumes. You can see this low pressure system. This is the cause for all of that rain this week as it digs into the center and the eastern portion of the U.S. It'll keep that rainfall around, but as it moves out to the east later on this week, we'll return to about average for this time of the year. Here's a look at your high temperatures on Friday: 56 in Denver, 64 in Oklahoma City, 60 degrees in St. Louis, and of course a little bit warmer farther down to the south. As we head into the first week of November, can you believe it? We're already talking about November 1st through the 5th. It looks like temperatures will likely stay a little bit warmer farther out to the west and cooler out to the east, and we set into this drier pattern here. All of the rain that we're getting this week, appreciate it now, because we could go into a much drier pattern as we head into the very beginning of November. And there's your forecast today. I don't see any pressing weather questions on here. Let's see what we have. We've got some people, oh, sorry, John, I just popped that off as you were popping it on. We've got some people saying thank you for the weather update. Well, we appreciate you guys watching. As always, follow us for more weather updates on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We post a lot on those pages, especially with our newest meteorologist, Michaela Smith. She's been helping out on social media as well. So we're getting things out more timely and more often than ever. Give us a follow on these social media platforms, and if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map, with all of this nice weather, it's nice to work some of those storms that hit earlier in the year. Go ahead and give us a call for those updates at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com. Head over to our website, hailtrace.com. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you back here for your forecast. Same time, same place tomorrow.